very best Heelwork To music handlers from around the world to compete today. So let's bring out our judges for our freestyle Heelwork To music international competition. 3 judges who have got a very difficult job of looking for those small details and putting our scores together to decide our international winner. Firstly, please welcome
to the
your first judge,
main arena, where
Dorene.
next is the Crufts International Freestyle Competition.
Your head judge,
It's going to be an exciting competition of 12 handlers from around the world. And it's been a great 2 days previously of competition, and this is going to be very exciting. Here is our judges. This is Jan Debham, and they've had a busy few days. Christine Hodgson is our head judge, all very experienced handlers as well as judges. And lastly, our international judge, who is Bridget van Gessel, and they've all competed here. They all know what it's like to be here in the main arena. So what are we going to see? Well, we're going to see freestyle today, and this is where, if you've not seen the sport before, you'll see a lot of the tricks, or we like to call them moves, and they should be quite varied during the whole routine. They shouldn't be repeated a lot, and there's lots of things the judges will be looking at, and we'll talk a little bit about each of the sections as we move through the competition.
And they will be using some of the traditional Heelwork To music positions, but most of the routine, the vast majority of the routine will.
So everything you see the dogs doing here today is done using positive reinforcement. The dogs will be all expecting their big rewards at the end, and for many of these dogs it will have taken a good few years to bring them up to this level, because to work for this amount of time, 4 minutes in this atmosphere, you've really got to put in the work and put in to the work enjoyment, which is what we're going to see today. So here is our first handler, and she is from Germany, Dorene, with Lucky Luke. Now they're going to be performing to Champion of the Rising Sun, a lovely Blue Merle Border Collie. She's going to be kicking off our competition today. Well, a powerful performance to start off this international freestyle competition. And there were some lovely little subtle moves there near to the start where the dog was turning its head. And then there were some nice advanced maneuvers. And advanced maneuvers mean things like the dog working at a distance, the dog working with its facing away from the handler, because obviously if the dog is facing away from the handler, then the dog can't read any physical signal or perhaps even hear the handler quite so well. So this dog was really enjoying itself out there. It was having a little bit of a bark. Here we go. Here's another little advanced maneuver. The dog was standing on the back and putting a rear leg in the air. So it wasn't just standing on the back, but it was doing what I call a multi-move. So it was doing one move, but combining it with another. So using its rear leg rather than its front leg, that would be deemed quite advanced. So yes, this little dog was having a little bit of a woof during it. And in a moment when we look at the scores, there will be a deduction section. And in the UK rules, the only deduction the judges can make is for any noise. And that doesn't have to be barking, it sometimes can be a whining and things like that. So the judges are now looking at the 3 areas, and each of these areas carries 10 points. We have content and flow, accuracy and team performance, and musical interpretation. So here we can see the judges have given a range of marks there. And it's not that they all have to be the same at all, because they will all have in their head what marks that they feel, and then they will be using that with every single competitor. So 22.30 is a nice score to kick off the competition. So that was our first competitor, and we're going to be moving on shortly to our second competitor, who is all the way from Norway. And this is a lovely border collie who's 3 years old, called Kie. She's a bitch, and they're going to be performing to Better When I'm Dancing. It's actually from the movie Peanuts. And this pairing so enjoy training. Apparently they don't think it as training, they just think of it as fun. So it's a young dog and be making its first appearance in this sort of atmosphere. So we'll see how they cope. Well done. What a happy, joyous pair that is working. And that dog, loads of energy, nice upbeat music suited the dog. And this is what freestyle can be like. 1 minute you've got a ninja in there, next minute you've got happy dancing dog there. And that's something the judges are going to be looking for. Is the music suiting the team? And they were a nice young team. The dog was obviously having a little bit of a look around a few times, but some lovely handling from the handler. She could see the dog was having a little bit of a look, so she changed a little bit, went off, gave the dog a chance to engage with her again. And the good thing is, nobody knows what routine was meant to happen. So if you are good at doing a little bit of improvising, if you see something's gone a little wrong, you can just carry it on, style it out as it was meant to happen, and nobody's going to know, because you don't have to put in the routine to the judges before you go in there. So as long as you keep it going, then it all looks right. The judges will never know. So what we'll be looking at there is our 3 areas, and the judges have given roughly around the 7s there. There's an 8 in interpretation. No deductions for any barking, so 22.30. So that was our second pairing, who were from Norway. So our third pairing today will be from the Netherlands, and we have an experienced handler here who's actually been here 7 times. She will be working her young dog today, which is Onyx, and previously she worked, I believe, this dog's father. So Greta and Onyx, a lovely red and white border collie. He's 8 years old. And they're going to be performing to the Lion King. And we had a bit of Lion King yesterday in the UK final with little Trip Hazard. So this will be another interpretation, and that's the amazing thing about this sport, is each handler can bring something different to perhaps even exactly the same song. They've each got different moves that they can do, and obviously in the case of this, it's a collie rather than a little dog we had yesterday.
Father is waiting. Look closer. You see, he lives in you.
Simba, you must take your place in the circle of life. You must remember who you are. One true king. Remember who you are.
dramatic piece of music there for their interpretation of The Lion King. A mix of moves which will go down well with the judges. And the judges will be looking at, in the first section, content and flow. So looking at the amount of moves, how varied they were they done at a distance? And they will also be looking at the flow of the routine. So did it flow nicely? Did it move around that ring? Did they use the ring? And this is a very big ring to use. And so the handler has to plot out where they've got to move within the ring so that they can maximise the points that they're going to gain. So this dog paid lovely attention to the handler, and that is one of the key aspects of a good freestyle dog, is it must be attentive to the handler throughout those 4 minutes, because some of the commands will be vocal, but some of them will also be on the handler's body movement, especially when the dog is at a distance with the loud music in the arena. It's quite hard for the dog sometimes to hear, so having a move on a physical signal, which could be the handler taking their hat off or raising their cane in the air, and that they've conditioned the dog, when they do that, the dog will actually do a certain move. So here we are, the scores for Onyx, 8-year-old Border Collie, into the 7s and some 8s there. Was there a little bit of noise there? Oh, there was. So 22.47 into first place. All very close to start with today, isn't it? But I'm sure it's going to hot up as we get through all of these handlers, which have come from around the world. We've got Japan today, we've got Canada, Hungary, Switzerland, Belgium. And the exciting thing for us UK handlers is we very rarely see some of these handlers work unless we are going abroad to the championships. So here's our 4th handler. This is Christine with Roos, a 7-year-old Border Collie bitch. They're going to be performing to Silverado theme song. Obviously got a bit of a cowboy theme there, I think. So let's wish them well as they set up for their routine. Happy little dog there working away. Little Ruth, who's actually a champion in 4 different disciplines. So they did very well there, did a nice little performance, used several props, and there I think there was probably about 4 props. And the judges will be looking at that and saying, was each prop used effectively? And as a general rule, I say use a prop at least twice during a routine to demonstrate to the judges that there's perhaps a few different ways and moves that that dog can do with the prop. So that's one thing the judges are going to be looking at within musical interpretation. What was good there was that the handler stayed sort of in character throughout, so whilst the dog was doing something, the handler was aiding the performance by being in character rather than just standing there and telling the dog to do something. So that staying in character from the handler helped to bring this whole theme to life, which helps the whole performance, presenting it in the right manner and trying to get those judges to give you as good a scores as you can. So here are the scores for Ruth, and that is some 8s there, which is good. Some interpretation, they obviously like the interpretation there. Tiny little bit for some deduction there, but 23.70. So goes into our first place. So that is the score to beat. So we're on to our 5th competitor, and this handler has come all the way from Canada with a very unusual dog, which is an Afghan hound. We've never seen an Afghan in freestyle in this country. So this is Fabio, and isn't that the right name for an Afghan? With his handler Jennifer, who's been here twice before with an Australian Shepherd, and they've always done very good performances. So I'm sure Fabio on his debut performance will be doing just exactly the same as his kennel mate. And they're performing to Perfect Isn't Easy. And that is from a Disney film. So Jennifer says the training of this dog has been very rewarding but demanding. And if any of you watching have got a hound, you probably appreciate what she means. So Fabio with his amazing coat there, he has got presence already with that coat, just seeing him moving there. And I'm sure Jennifer's going to be using that coat for maximum effect and drama as the dog sort of flies through. Oh dear, that looks like something's been forgotten perhaps. So she's just popping out to get, I'm sure there should be a prop that the handler essentially needs. And in the nerves of being backstage, it's things like this that get forgotten and not picked up. And so here we go. Here's Fabio back in the ring. So
Don't forget, if you want to catch up on any of the Heelwork To music action
let's keep our fingers crossed that all goes well from now on. Fabio in his start position. He's obviously going to stay there asleep. Is that tail going to stop wagging? Yes, while he's pretending to lie there asleep. Look at it. Look at that tail. That's lovely. Let's wish them well.
Rise and shine, Georgette. Your public awaits.
Got work to do. Pass me the paint and glue. Perfect isn't easy, but it's me. When one knows the world is watching, one does what one must. Some minor adjustments, darling, not for my vanity, but for humanity. Each little step a pose. See how the breeding shows. Sometimes it's too much for even me. But when all the world says yes, then who am I to say no? Don't ask a mutt to strut like a showgirl. No, girl, you need a pro. Not a flea or a flaw. Take a peek at that paw. La-dee-da-da. Perfection becomes meanness. Unrivaled, unruffled. I'm beauty unleashed. Yeah, jaws drop. Hearts stop, so classic and classy, we're not talking classy. Come and they covet my bone and bow. They're barking up the wrong tree. You pretty pups all over the city. I have your hearts and you have my pity. Pretty is nice, but still it's just pretty. Perfect, my dear, is me.
Wow, what a lovely routine that was with Fabio. He was looking very good out there with all that coat flowing through the moves. And I feel like a good choice of music, the speed of that music, when he was moving out and moving around the mirror and back, he just strutted. And if the handler had too faster music, it wouldn't have suited. This is a lovely start, a little bit of comedy there with the dog pulling the blanket back over it again. And it's something relatively simple. The dog's just grabbing hold of something and laying back down again. But if you match that with the music, you can see it has a real magical effect. So this is a lovely paw move using the length of that dog's legs. And so if this had been a tiny dog, we wouldn't have perhaps seen it quite so much. But the expressiveness of this dog And there, Jennifer using one of the sort of staple basic things in some freestyle routines, which is the surprise factor. She stripped off, changed the look of the routine, bit of a dramatic look, and lots of jumps, which is a great way of motivating Fabio. So what will the scores be here? Oh, look at this. This is looking good. 25.60. A 9.3 there for interpretation. So that's making a really good score to